Family. Ooh, that was good. I'm drinking some water. I guess I could have turned the camera on. You could have saw. Side cam. There we go. Welcome to another episode of. I forget that one always extra slow. What are we looking for? Another episode of Soul Swami Live. Okay. It looks nice and colorful. All right, well that's good. Again, thank you for your support as always. Your time, your energy, your effort. You can be anywhere in the world, but right now you with us. So gratitude. This is Soul Swami Live, where we discuss all things healing in various forms and formats. Today is Thursday Night Book Club, which is a spinoff of our Tuesday night show in an effort to allow us a space to what's going on? Allowing us a space to be able to reconnect with that childlike energy in us, which is fantastic for us evolving and healing and becoming the best most authentic version of ourselves. Excuse me. Seems like I'm doing too much, eh? Eh? Hold on, I want to make sure I can monitor these comments unless somebody say something. As you know, if I get too comfortable, somebody come in and say something like, "Hey, man." Okay, that's it. I was right. Okay, hey, man. So, this week we are continuing reading the book Changeling by Victor Lavalle. I guess we can low-key say quietly he's becoming one of our favorite authors because we've read several of his books. We're about to read his whole catalog at some point. Okay, so generally at the beginning of every show we do a little energy work, and this week we are on the solar plexus, which resides in your stomach area. If you are in the color therapy, scratch. Let's start with what the solar plexus energy point is for. The solar plexus is the energy point for your personal power, your strength, your ego, your confidence, and your self esteem. If you are in the color therapy, you want to know that the color for your solar plexus is yellow. You can wear some yellow, spend some time in yellow lights like we got going on right now. Eat some more yellow things. Those are the things that will help support your solar plexus. The element for your solar plexus is fire. You can always spend some time, some fire too. Burn some wood, sit in front of a fire, do some things like that. If you are into essential oils, you want to think lemongrass, cedarwood, juniper, ginger are all good for your solar plexus. If you are into crystals and gemstones, you want to think citrine, tiger's eye, sunstone, topaz, pyrite, rutilated quartz, and yellow jasper. I got something back there that's yellow too. With sulfur. Yeah, yellow sulfur. I pointed because that's my little table. Yellow sulfur. I got that back there. So during this time, after we do that, we do a little sound therapy, where I play the bowl for you. We do some breath work, and then we get started for the show. So right now, all you gotta do is just relax and allow the sounds to vibrate with your energy and shake off some of the stresses of the day and things like that. Okay. I'm glad you said that because when I looked at the camera, I was like, "Oh wow, it seems all lighty in here, all light in here." So no, it's not just you. It does seem extra bright because normally I seen my chocolate be sitting off in the shadows. Thanks. So now we both know we're not tripping. We know the light color is yellow and it's pink. I mean, it's it is fluorescent pink, but yeah. So yellow and pink looks well as a good color combination for us, family. Definitely not a coincidence. It is synchronicity in life, of life, and I've always, not always, but I've been working on my solar plexus for a minute. Got offered on a couple of other things, but you are correct. We all could use a little bit more light right now. I know several people are functioning under a little bit of stress as they deal with family issues, that they deal with work issues, that they deal with a couple of things. You know what I mean? The accidents, all types of things are going on right now, but it's just symbolic of how winter is going out and spring will be coming in. Spring is allowing us space to create a whole lot of new energies, a whole lot of new connections, a whole lot of new everything. Like what they said, out like a lion, in like a lamb. So I expect spring after we get through this last couple of weeks of winter. Spring will be very therapeutic and rewarding for all of us, right? You see, I had to turn on my sexy voice for that, right? Vibration's a little stronger tonight too. So good, good, good. We might need to do some meditation, some praying. Excuse me. Ooh, a little gassy. Let me ask you a question, Liberty, because you be on Twitch. Have you ever seen the poll pop up? I created a poll for us when we were doing, what was it? Generational curses to generational blessings. And I never saw it, right? But I went and canceled it today because I want to make a new poll. But I need to make sure that the poll is seen. And the bad thing about it, though, it'll only be seen on Twitch because I haven't seen any evidence of a poll. But I'm saying that now because when I canceled the poll, there's a comment in the chat that says, the poll has been canceled. I was like, man, listen, that poll never showed up. Yeah, color is off because my pants look gray and they are, maybe I'm tripping. They are very much green. Okay. I'm on my AKA. Got pink and green on. Okay, so Fably, next we will do some breath work. I don't know what I feel like today. Okay, thank you. What breath work you feel like doing? Well, now you know the poll is canceled. So we'll try it again, see if it'll show up next time, but okay, I was on the same thing. I was gonna do 444, but we've been doing that and I don't feel like that's enough breath work. So I wanna do I don't wanna do the sun. That's too much. You're not feeling. We were 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can't even remember how that go. 4, 7, 8 is one that requires us to do a little more focusing. 4 things that you can hear. 5 things you can. 4 things you can hear. 3 things you can see. 2 things you can taste. 1 thing you can touch. Let's do that one. I feel like it's 5. I'm leaving something out. We'll go with that. 4, 7, 9 minus 1. So for the 4, 7, 8 breathing exercise, if you are unfamiliar with it or you just keep losing track of the count, it is 4, 7, 8. We breathe in for a 4 count. We hold for a 7 count. And we release or exhale for an 8 count. During this time, you really just focus on your breath work and your breathing. And this one is good. They're all good for anxiety and changing the energy, but this one is definitely a reminder of how powerful you are and how much power you have that resides within the breath that you breathe, right? So during this time, as a matter of fact, I want you to, we have so many things that we can be stressing about. So being a little more intentional with our thoughts during our breath work, I want us to really take time during our breathing exercises to think about the things that we are grateful about. If there is anything that we're stressed about or anything that's heavy on our heart, when or if that shows up in our thought process, I want us to make sure that we intentionally focus on flipping that coin over and recognizing the things that we can be grateful for, right? So while you listen to the sound of my voice, I will keep the track of the count for you. You focus in on your breathing and thinking about what you can be grateful for currently, right now, in spite of the stressors, right? On the count of three, we will start. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last time, family. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, as we have taken a little bit of time to be conscious of the things that we can be grateful for during our breath work, I want to add a few affirmations to be able to support the raising of our energy in our solar plexus. And all I need for you to do is to repeat after me. I am confident. I act with courage. I am a powerful being. I am motivated, persistent, and successful. I honor myself. I am confident. I act with courage. I am a powerful being. I am motivated, persistent, and successful. And I honor myself. Whew, all right. Okay, so can't forget this. This is your weekly reminder that you too can purchase the 7 Spaces of Healing. The 7 Spaces of Healing is a guide to be able to help you to recognize 7 spaces that you need to cultivate within yourself and 7 spaces that you need to make sure that you are a part of that will support the evolution of you in becoming the most authentic version of yourself. Those 7 spaces include love, healing, solitude, trust, risk, accountability, and a space for forgiveness. Go to Amazon now and look up the 7 Spaces of Healing, or check the link in the description. All right, here we go. Let's see. I can't even remember where we at. Oh, they was drinking and eating with a friend in the restaurant, that expensive restaurant that he already knew he couldn't afford. Well, I ain't saying that he couldn't afford, but money was low at that point, and that definitely was an expensive restaurant. The wine they was drinking was $150 a bottle. So yeah, he was not accustomed to buying $150 bottle of wine. I gotta cut this off, man, because we going ting, 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 like every 5 minutes. It's funny. And now I sit here all day and it be quiet as kept. As soon as we get on live, bing, 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 bing. It just notifications going ham sandwich. We're on chapter 12. By the time the second bottle of Chablis had been finished, Nichelle practically levitated from her chair. She'd cycled from tipsy to tornado. She spoke loudly enough now that Miss Grabowski and her son might have heard her out in Queens. The sure sign that she'd become truly drunk was neither her slurred words nor her lack of bodily control. Though there was a little of both, but the way she'd stopped listening to others at the table. Tipsy people are chatty. Drunks harangued. This wasn't so bad, though, because by 10 o'clock, both Emma and Apollo had lost their ability to make conversation. Emma Harley, napping at all these days, had drifted into a half-sleep of her long nights. She slept propped partway up with the pillows in the bed, so it wasn't all that different to drift in a seat at the boulet. Apollo, meanwhile, had ingested nothing but tap water and the restaurant bread. While the bread tasted magnificent, it wasn't enough. By dessert, Apollo and Emma had low batteries, but Nichelle seemed wired to a generator. She was turned up. Limbo, co-limbo, I can't remember what the damn thing was called, Nichelle said. She ordered port to go along with a heart caramelized anjou pear. Emma asked for amaretto plain, though she swore she wanted only a bite. Apollo didn't know what either cost because by then his vision had gone fuzzy. He couldn't have read the menu if he tried. He only hoped there wasn't such thing as second dessert or digestive tasting menu. Or some other high tone shit that might require him to go into their savings just to pay for it. This girl tried to get me to watch a movie about slave uprising when I was busy trying to figure out how to marry that boy out of New Edition. Before Apollo could say anything, she waved her hand dismissively. No, not Ralph or Bobby. I like Michael Bivins. He could ball. A pause, during which neither Apollo nor Emma seemed to blink or breathe. Quilombo, Nichelle said, slapping the table hard enough to knock over her port. Oh, damn, she muttered, then looked at the waiter and signaled for another, though really there had hardly been enough left in the glass to make the spot the size of a nickel. I watched that movie one time with her, and in about 10 minutes in, I'm like, what the hell kind of English is this? Emma says it's Portuguese. I took the headphones off and left her right there with the VCRs. Emma finally took a fork to her dessert. You like bye Brazil? Betty Fryer, Nichelle said, puckering her lips and shutting her eyes. The new glass of port arrived. Emma bit into her flan. Despite her exhaustion and his terror of the upcoming bill, Apollo felt a blush of happiness. He liked to think of these two women as girls in Boone's Mill, Virginia, lucky enough to find each other, to love each other. He'd made a friend, a fellow book dealer, not too long ago, Patrice Green, An army vet who had gone into the trade when he came. mm, an army vet who had gone into the trade when he came back to the States. Usually, there were only two black bookmen at the local estate sales. They might as well be two unicorns that happened into the same field. Of course, they become close. Thank God for friendship. That's what he sat there thinking. Nichelle and Emma, Apollo and Patrice. Before he could talk himself out the gesture, he raised his hand for the waiter and ordered a glass of bourbon. By the time the drink arrived, Emma huffed quietly beside him. Apollo worried for a moment, but she was touching her throat, not her belly. That flan wants to come back up, Emma said quietly. The cell suggested water, but that would only make it worse. I'll find the bathroom, she said. Apollo helped her up and watched her shuffle toward their waiter. The waiter nodded quickly and led her out of the dining room. When she disappeared, Apollo looked back to Nichelle and found her watching him with an unnerving seriousness. It was as if her drunkenness had all been placated, and now she was dropping the play. There's a new photo of your wife in the art gallery in Amsterdam, Nichelle said. Is there a proper response to such a revelation? Color or black or white? Apollo asked. It was the best he could do. I feel you. You know she went to Brazil. She told me how you waited for her at the airport when she came back. Very sweet. Big points for you. While she was down there, she had a few adventures. I'm sure she told you about some of them. The red string, she told me about that one. 3 wishes, Nichelle shouted, as if someone had just brought out a birthday cake. Yes, that was a bold move you made, Apollo, let me tell you. I like that. That girl did say that too in the quote in the TV show. I kept the string, Apollo said, so I wouldn't forget my promise. Right then, it was tucked flat inside his wallet, right behind his driver's license. Nichelle nodded, but he couldn't be sure she was listening. Too drunk, but still she smiled playfully. By the way, you should be proud. You'd given her 2 of those wishes already. She never told you what they were. Bad luck, but I guess it's okay now. Nichelle lifted her right hand into a fist and raised the pointing finger. A good husband, she said. That was funny because I never, in the TV show, I never really heard what the third wish was. I thought she was just hinting to it, but never said it. She raised the middle finger, a healthy baby. That reminds me, do you know the sex? Emma said you all didn't want to find out, but come on, you can tell me. We really don't know, Apollo said. We want to find out together, right when it happens. Nichelle shook her head. I never met black hippies. I ain't even know there were black hippies, but I guess there's at least 2. Nichelle still hadn't lowered her hand. Her hand. Apollo stared at the third finger, Nichelle's ring finger. It trembled as if it was about to raise and reveal the third wish, but then Nichelle opened her hand wide, all 5 fingers out on display. About a month before she came back to the United States, Emma met this Dutch photographer down there in Brazil. It's wild she was in Salvador. Apollo's bourbon matched the color of his sudden mood. He instantly forgot about the third wish. Dutch photographer? Dutch fucking photographer. Emma and this Dutch photographer get on real well, and the 2 of them start going around Salvador together taking pictures of everything. The photographer keeps trying to get Emma into the photos, but she doesn't want to do that. She wants to learn how to shoot the photos, not how to be in them. One trip they take is to some abandoned factory that looks like some kind of romantic and decayed. They spend most of the day there, but at some point the photographer has to go and pee. So Emma, alone with the equipment, they didn't say all this in the show to you either. And this is when she decided to finally be in a photo. But it's one she's going to take herself, by herself. This is high-grade camera work, so it's not just digital shit with your phone. Emma's smart, though. and she learned enough by now to set up the shot timer. She makes the shot in front of the wall that's been half torn down so you can see she's standing inside of a man-made building that's gone to the dogs, but over her right shoulder, you can see a forest that surrounds this factory. Two words at once: crumbling civilization and an explosion of the natural world. Two worlds at once, excuse me. Emma walks into the shot, and just before the shutter clicks, she pulls off her dress and takes the photo nude. Apollo found himself nodding, though he couldn't say why. Nichelle hadn't said anything that required agreement. Instead, it was as if she was testing to be sure his head remained on his neck. Apparently it was there, but Apollo still didn't quite believe it. Better down all this bourbon to be sure. She didn't even tell the photographer she'd done it. It would get developed later in a dark room, and the fate of that picture had nothing to do with her. The point was just that Emma Valentine had done it. You see, she's always been like that, ever since she was a girl. If she sets her will on something, it's going to happen. Believe me, you like to think you choose to wait for her at the airport when her plane arrived late, but I'm telling you different. She was on that plane like willing you not to leave. You couldn't have gone home if you tried. I know how that sounds, but I believe it. Nichelle nodded for a few moments longer than necessary, enjoying the movement more than anything else. Then she jumped back into the story of Emma and the photo. Well, that Dutch photographer didn't even develop the film until returning to Amsterdam, but it was clear that shot was worth keeping. Had it framed and included in the show, and the gallery owner bought it and never took it down. I've never been to Amsterdam, but Emma showed me the JPEG. I think the owner even included the shot in the gallery's catalogs. And, Apollo asked, his throat too dry to say more. He scanned the corner where his wife had gone to use the bathroom. How different would she seem when she reappeared because of this story Nichelle decided to share? And why had she shared it? Just because she was drunk? Emma has never been a big girl, you know? But down in Brazil, she looked lean, not weak, muscle and bone, and those big eyes of hers, that's all she was. Wiry and fierce, naked and unashamed. She's looking in that camera lens and like she can see you, whoever you are, wherever you are. She looks like a fucking sorceress, Apollo. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Nichelle stopped there and looked at the port glass in her hand with surprise. She gulped it all down and conked the glass on the table upside down. And the Dutch guy, Apollo asked, what's his name? Nichelle watched him quietly for a second. She narrowed her eyes when she spoke. I'm trying to tell you something important, and you focused on bullshit. If it's bullshit, then you can just tell me about him, Apollo said. Now Nichelle reached across the table and dug her nails into the back of both his hands. I'm trying to tell you about Emma's third wish, Nichelle said, in a way that won't break her trust, because it's the only wish that hasn't come true yet. At this, Apollo felt hurt. He fell back into his chair as if Nichelle had kicked him. Okay, I'm listening. But before anything more could be spoken by either of them, the waiter appeared. The man had been sprinting. He reached the table. He didn't speak. He roared. Your wife, he said. Your wife needs you. Chapter 13. The question Nichelle never got to ask Emma and Apollo, though she'd been trying in her way to lead to it earlier in the night, was why. Why on earth had Apollo and Emma decided to do a home birth when they seemed like such sane people? They weren't third world peasants. They weren't wealthy white folks or anti-hospital industry kooks. So what the hell happened? The concern felt truly pressing as Nichelle settled the bill with the waiter. She'd been signing the credit card receipt when Apollo appeared again, holding Emma under one arm. Emma looked so red and exhausted that Nichelle had her phone out to call 911 as the waiter took the check away. Emma told Nichelle to stop dialing, and Apollo tried to give her money for the bill. She told Apollo she'd been planning to cover the tab ever since she'd made the reservations. Told Emma as much when they first sat down and simply forgot to repeat the news when Apollo arrived. He could have eaten. As it was, the only stuff in his stomach was bread and bourbon. He never expected to be tipsy during the birth of his first child. Harder for Nichelle to handle was the fact that Emma didn't want an ambulance called. As they left Boulay, rushing as fast as 9-month pregnant woman could move, Emma reminded Nichelle they were having this baby at home. Ambulances weren't some private car service. They would take her to the hospital, not her apartment. In the Apple room, Nichelle offered to at least hail a cab, request a lift, but this offer was too denied. They were way downtown on Duane Street on a Friday night. The best a car could do was hit the West Side Highway. There they'd find the kind of traffic only Beijing or Mumbai would recognize. An hour-long trip by car to Washington Heights from here, maybe longer. Meanwhile, the Chambers Street station lay only 4 blocks away. They can catch the A train and be home in 35. Nichelle walked along them to the corner of Church Street. She couldn't contain her vexation. "Why are you doing this?" she shouted out on the street. All the liquor had loosened up her volume knob. "What's wrong with you?" As they crossed Reed Street, Emma spoke. "Call Kim," she said. Apollo already had the phone out. Older sister, trained midwife, Kim Valentine, on the speed dial. "Kim," Apollo shouted. In a moment, "Emma's having contractions." On the other end of the line, Kim spoke so quietly, the street traffic made it impossible to hear. Why was she whispering? Emma walked slowly but soldiered forward. Nichelle trailed them by half a block, shouting words so slurred they became an invented language. Pregnancy is hard on women, and it can be tough on their friends too. It definitely can be. "Stop shouting," Kim whispered on the phone. "I'm in a movie. Hold on." They reached the train station. Apollo wondered for no good reason what movie Kim had been watching. "It's a little early," he said. They were at the top of the station stairs. Nichelle caught up and clutched at Emma in a sloppy hug. "She's only 38 weeks, he said, sounding as if he was pleading with Kim to put the labor on hold. "Stop shouting," Kim said. "Maybe it's a false labor. Could be Braxton Hicks." Apollo looked at Emma, who'd collapsed onto Nichelle, heavy breathing into her old friend's neck. They looked like some sloppy prom couple. Apollo didn't care if this would turn out to be a false labor, just a test run. He wanted Kim to leave her movie and get her car. She kept her birthing equipment in the trunk at all times. He wanted her driving north, no matter the traffic. They might get to the apartment before her, but soon enough she'd be there. She could mock them all she wanted. If this whole thing went into the Braxton Hicks direction, he'd endure the taunting to ensure her arrival. Imagine him and Emma birthing this baby in their apartment alone. Kim had prepared them for this possibility, but that didn't mean he ever expected it to actually happen. The idea was so laughable, it almost made him scream right there on the street. "We'll meet you at home," Apollo said, hoping he sounded assured and not panicked. "Get your car." "I love you," Nichelle said as she clutched at Emma. "I love you." Emma touched Nichelle's head and stroked her hair. "We'll be fine, Nichelle. I promise we'll be fine." "You shouldn't be comforting me," Nichelle cried, then sort of laughed. "Your hotel's very close," Emma whispered, though the words came out pinched. "Can you make it there?" The Bradley method class had taught Apollo that if Emma could carry a conversation, then she wasn't truly in labor yet. This eased him slightly, even as Nichelle hugged him goodbye and he led Emma down the stairs into the station. He was thinking ahead to the steps awaiting him at home, inflating the plastic tub rapidly with the electric air pump, putting the plastic liner in, attaching the hose. Apollo knew every step. He had practiced each half a dozen times in the last month. He knew his job, and that calmed him. Apollo hadn't hung up his cell phone yet. Kim could be heard shouting from the receiver. He tapped the speakerphone. Emma clung to the handrails as they descended. "We're going down," Apollo said. Kim caught mid-sentence, stopped shouting to register his words. "I'm on speaker?" she asked. She didn't wait for confirmation. "Emma," she shouted, "I'm on my way. Stay strong. You can handle this." Reception died after that. And there, finally, was a reason that Apollo and Emma were having their baby at home. Kim Valentine had switched from being a pediatric nurse to a midwife and a kind of midlife conversation. Like most converts, she thought hard. Kim called on her friends and old co-workers, cousins, and random women riding in elevators. She even accepted calls from telemarketers just so she could chat with them about home births. So when her sister got pregnant, it was without a question that Kim would be the midwife and this delivery would happen at home. Kim had never had children of her own, but she'd raised Emma ever since the age of 5. That had to count. Becoming an auntie would be one hell of a milestone for her. Natural childbirth for Emma, Kim as midwife, that was that. The decision was clear. They informed Apollo over brunch at dinner on the Fort Washington Avenue. He had questions, but it was only curiosity, not resistance. By the end of the day, he had been on the computer researching inflatable birthing pools. Kim promised she can get him a discount. Apollo and Emma reached the bottom of the staircase, then pushed through the turnstiles. They didn't have long to wait. The A arrived in record time. They boarded at Chambers Street, feeling downright blessed. What's that saying? Oh, these socks they are from, oh man, Hey Arnold. So these are a pair of my Hey Arnold socks. And they say, "Move it, football head." What the bully used to call Arnold, because he did have a football shaped head. But his homeboy head was shaped like Frank and Beans. Frank and Beans, Beans and Frank. Whatever dudes say from Something About Mary, which I know you haven't seen. Chapter 14. Emma and Apollo boarded the A train so flustered that they didn't even notice the other passengers. Couldn't have told you if they were other passengers. Emma wanted to stay standing. She held on to one of the poles in the train car, and Apollo stood behind her so that she could lean her weight back into him. The train doors shut, the hiss of the car going into motion. Then they heard a young man shout, "Showtime, ladies and gentlemen, showtime. What time is it?" 3 more voices answered, "Showtime." Emma groaned. Apollo couldn't be sure if it was from the labor pains or because she'd seen the 4 boys who started dancing on the train. These crews, boys between 15 and 19 mostly, worked New York City subways like canaries in the Midwest. One manned the radio, blasting the beat loud enough that it drowned out the subway wheels, grinding the rails, while the other 3 did breakdancing routines that had been modified to fit in the subway car. These kids tended to do good business on the train, but never this far downtown. Usually they worked the express ride from 59th Street to 125th, a long enough trip for every member of the crew to do a routine and work up some tips from the passengers. But now they were down here at Chambers Street in the middle of the night, right when Apollo and Emma most needed a little peace. The boys had their back to Apollo and Emma, huddled together at the far end of the car. They didn't even seem to be putting on an actual show, but practicing their routines. "I can't stand here," Emma said, as the train rattled towards the next stop, Canal Street. "I'll get them to stop the music," Apollo said, but soon as he took a step away from Emma, she reached out and pulled him back. "I'm going to throw up if I keep standing," she said. The train left the tunnels and pulled into Canal Street Station. For the first time, Apollo actually looked around the car. Not more than 10 people in there, including the 4 dancers. "If your man can't do this," one of the dancers called out coolly, like an actor going over his line, "leave him at home." Okay. The other thief replied, they never have time to get out this car and back into the next before the doors closed again. He certainly wasn't going to try to maneuver her between the cars while she was in labor. They would have to endure the route until it ended. Black guys tripping? Called the leader of the boys. Just flipping, the others answered back. Emma swayed where she stood and her cheeks puffed out, and she brought one hand over her lips. He braced his body around hers, trying to keep her as steady as possible. He wasn't sure what they'd do if she vomited. Who would who would the remaining few passengers in the car hate more at this point? The dancers or a couple covered in puke? Ah, New York. At West 4th Street, Apollo set Emma down onto the gray plastic corner seat gently. But as soon as she sat, her full weight going down on her tailbone, she lurched forward again, her face tight with concentration. It hurt to sit, but if she stood, she'd throw up, and they had 10 more stops to go. Emma looked at him, her eyes slightly vacant. Why did you eat nothing but bread? She asked. Do you know how good that food was? Jokes were good. No one ever told a funny and true labor. Apollo took off his coat. He rolled it into a ball and set it under Emma. Across the platform, the C train, a local, pulled in. The doors opened, and the passengers scrambled over to the A. The car that had been so empty suddenly became half full. Just before the doors shut, 3 more passengers slipped in. A mother with 2 children. One was a young girl, maybe 9. The younger child lay asleep in his stroller. The mother saw Apollo and Emma, 2 sweaty, panting adults, and quickly scanned the rest of the car. Showtime, ladies and gentlemen, showtime, the boys called out. The mother buckled in defeat. The dancers had moved to the middle of the train car, and their radio had somehow become even louder. Most on the train acted though nothing was happening at all in the middle of the car, as if the music weren't playing, as if 4 young men weren't pulling off incredible feats of acrobatic flair, and few filed audible complaints, and the train began to move. The mother pushed her stroller to the seats opposite of Apollo and Emma. She called to the 9-year-old in Spanish, and the 9-year-old followed. The girl took a seat and pulled out a book out of her bag. Apollo wondered just for a moment if this could have been the same mother and children who'd been at Fort Washington Library on the day he'd met Emma. Impossible, improbable, but he felt an urgency to snatch the book out the little girl's hands and see if it had Fort Washington Branch Library somewhere stamped on it. The kid didn't pay attention to the dancers or to Apollo and Emma. She had that book and seemed satisfied. The toddler in the stroller stayed sleeping, but now, from this angle, the mother seemed to understand Apollo and Emma differently. Maybe because of the sweating and the huffing, she thought they were addicts tweaking on the A train, but it was impossible to ignore Emma's belly from there. Now the woman watched Emma quietly, and for a few moments the 2 locked eyes. Emma scooched up off her butt as the A train picked up speed, rattling like a roller coaster. As soon as the A train rocked, she was sent falling back into the seat, and that hurt Emma even more. She pressed her face to Apollo's shoulder when he held her, and through his shirt, his skin felt wet. He looked down to see Emma wiping her chin across him, pinching her lips as tight as she could. They reached 14th Street, and the boys slapped their radio off when 2 NYPD officers got on the train. The cops knew what the boys had been doing, but deterrence seemed like enough right then. The ride from 14th all the way to 42nd Street without the radio playing seemed as quiet as a cave. Emma worked on her breathing. 2 little breaths in, 1 big breath out. She found her way to a meditative state. We can't wait to meet you, Apollo whispered to her. She couldn't acknowledge what he was saying because she was concentrating on her breathing. The pain she felt in her hips, in her lower back, It became white light that drew her close one moment and pushed her further away the next. We can't wait to meet you, Apollo whispered again. They come up with this mantra in the Bradley Method class. The teacher Tanya suggested coming up with it is saying the father could repeat to mother when she began labor. A mantra, kind of. Apollo and Emma had decided they'd say something to the baby, a simple welcome that summarized their excitement, their anticipation. Focus on that rather than the pain. We can't wait to meet you. Who'd said it in that time, Apollo and Emma? She couldn't be sure, and frankly, neither could he. They were on the A train pulling in the 59th Street station, but they were not there. They were in their apartment, both of them, in the tub, Kim by their side. They were already greeting their child. They only had to catch up to that moment in the future, and all would be fine. The train stopped, and the car cleared out. It became almost as empty as it had been down by Chambers Street. When the car doors closed again, there were only a few passengers left, Apollo and Emma, the mother and her children, and the dancers counting the little money they made before the cops got on. 9 souls, one more on the way. The A train left 59th Station, the leg of the trip that would be the toughest. From here, the A train wouldn't stop until 125th, the single longest uninterrupted ride in the entire New York City subway system. The A train would never go faster than it did there. Apollo anticipated the jerking and the jumping to come, tried to wrap his arms around Emma like a living seatbelt, but as the train passed 79th Street, 81st, 86th, it didn't seem to matter. The only solace was that Emma had gone into a kind of trance. The breathing worked. She didn't talk anymore. She approached true labor, but luckily they were nearly home. The A passed 103rd Street, the weak light in the station hardly seeming to reach their train car before they were back into the tunnel again. And the wheels of the bus go round. And the wheels of the train creaked as the train suddenly slowed. No problem at all, a common occurrence. The motorman had been chugging at high speeds, and it was normal for the train to start coasting. This way, they'd simply glide into 125th Station, totally normal. Then the squeal of the train's breakers as they came to a full stop. Apollo looked out the car's windows, but couldn't see anything out there in the dark. A squawk played over the car speakers, just a stab of feedback. The speakers went silent again. That's how it sounds. Sometimes they start talking on. You never been to New York when they can start talking on those train stations. Sometimes it just sounds like. He probably was like, he's like, what? So you better know where you going, because they not gonna help. So that is funny. Oh God. The speakers went silent again, and a moment after that, the lights in all the cars of the A train went out. Apollo and Emma and the mother and her kids and the 4 dancers sat in total darkness. Chapter 15. In the Bradley Method class, their teacher taught them that the majority of women had been having babies without the aid of modern hospitals, obstetricians, crash teams, pediatric nurses, and most of all, Potikin. For, well, always, the female body knew exactly how to deliver a child, just as all living things do, and the job of the midwife was basically just to get the 21st century out the way. Apollo and Emma hadn't been as adamant about home birth as others. If they truly needed to go to the hospital, they agreed they would. Emma had even packed a small suitcase for just such a contingency. They kept it under their bed. Nonetheless, Tanya explained, these Bradley Method classes were designed in part so that even fathers could do the job of assisting with the delivery if needed. Apollo had believed this, had, with a degree of arrogance, repeated all this to Patrice when they were out on an estate sale together. But let's be clear, Apollo Kagwa had been a staunch believer in the idea that he could deliver a baby because he was absolutely sure he would never, ever actually have to do that. But there they were, on the stalled A train, no midwives in sight. Maybe the 9-year-old girl, no longer able to read her book in the dark, might also be an accredited doula. Or could the 4-man crew of dancers please also be a team of traveling obstetricians? At least the toddler in the stroller hadn't woken up. How was this possible? Maybe the mom had dosed the kid with some nighttime medicine. Oh, Emma made the sound of Apollo in his fear, almost clamped a hand over her mouth. He was worried not about decorum, but about what that sound indicated. They'd practiced this moan in class. When the woman couldn't simply breathe through her pain anymore, she was supposed to release this exact moan. Oh, Emma did it again. In class 1, the other expectant mothers had asked when she should make that call, when she should tell herself to begin. But Tanya, mother of 2, had smiled kindly and said, when you're in true labor, you can't help but do it. Oh, when you're in true labor. Why are you hurting your girl? Apollo looked up to find the 4 dancers crowded close. One of them held his phone up, using it like a flashlight, which wasn't really necessary. Their eyes were already adjusted to the dim glow coming from the LED bulbs and the signal lights in the tunnel. Being this near, he realized how young they were. Their leader, the oldest, couldn't have been more than 15. He stood over Apollo, already making a fist. Why you hurting your girl? He said again. Apollo actually laughed at them. They thought they were coming to Emma's aid, but once they looked at her instead of Apollo, all 4 boys lost their courage. Yo, she's pregnant. Emma corrected them. I'm starting labor. He felt surprised how calm she sounded, and these 4 boys seemed shocked as well. The kid in front, their leader, his closed fist loosened. When his mouth went slack, he looked as young as a toddler in the stroller. We need some help, Apollo said. Could one of you run up and find the conductor? None of them moved. The other 3 had actually stepped back, shrunk behind the oldest. 12 or 13, the others couldn't have been older than that. They peeked around the oldest one's muscled arms. Emma had to make the same request. One of you run and find the conductor, she said, locking eyes with him. I'll go, the youngest of them said. He pulled open the car door and sprinted. Oh. Apollo stood up and the other 3 boys moved away. The woman across from them watched only Emma. The girl leaned her head against her mother's shoulder, her book now face down on her knees. She watched Emma too. I need to get on her feet, Apollo said. But she's having a kid, the oldest said quietly. She's supposed to lie down, right? What's your name? Apollo asked. I'm Cowboy, the boy said. I used to live in Dallas like 10 years back. Then we came up here with my parents, so everybody calls me Cowboy. But my real name is Cowboy. Hey, that was funny, because when we moved to New York, my brother used to wear his wool toboggan, which is, I seen this video trying to say toboggan is a North Carolina word, but it might be, but that ain't the only place they use that. But he used to roll it up like Adabisi on the top of his head. And when we moved to New York, they used to call him country. They thought that was the countryest thing that they ever saw. And we wasn't even from the country. We was from California. But ironically, we probably was in California country because we lived in we lived in Atwater. And nobody ever remembers Atwater. I ask people from California. They be like, where's that at? Like, are you really from California? Cowboy, Apollo said, and the kid looked up at him. That's a good name. Can we call you that? Cowboy took a breath, spoke slower. I want to help, he said. The best way to help my wife is to get her to her feet, Apollo said. 2 of you hold her hands and pull while I lift the hips, okay? Yeah? Cowboy nodded and looked at the kid on his left. They positioned themselves in front of Emma and grabbed her fingers. Wait, Emma said. Don't hold my fingers. Hold my wrists. The boys watched her quietly and didn't move. Emma smiled softly at both of them. You're doing great, she said. You're brave boys. When they rose as one mass, they nearly crashed into the stroller. The mother pulled it to the side just in time. Now walk me to the closest pole, Emma said. It was only 3 steps. It took 4 minutes. When Emma reached that pole, Apollo, who'd been behind her, his arms around the middle, reminded her of the next step. Darling, you have to grab a hold. Emma held the pole. Any of you have something to drink? The boys looked through their book bags. Red Bull, one offered. No, Emma said firmly. Apollo turned to the mother. Between the 9-year-old and the toddler, this woman had to have a juice box or something. Agua, Emma said. The mother reached into the back of the stroller, found a pouch, and revealed a red and black sippy cup. Apollo didn't have hands free, so he looked to the only boy who hadn't been given a job. The kid almost looked grateful for a simple task. I know that he wanted to help, man. Kids be wanting to help. They want to help. You just got to give him the opportunity. So he was sitting there like, man, he probably was over there spirit feeling defeated because he ain't do nothing. Right? The kid almost looked grateful for the simple task. He brought it back and set it down on the floor. Oh. Emma's hand slipped off the pole. They were already too sweaty to hold on. Hands and knees, Emma said to Apollo. I have to be on my hands and knees. Get me down. Fellas, Apollo said, I'm going to need you to hold her up a little bit longer. Where you going, Cowboy asked, panic-stricken. I'm going over there to get my coat. I don't need the coat, Emma shouted, but Apollo couldn't stop himself. He got the coat. He laid it flat. It wasn't much. It wasn't much. He wished he had kept the loaner jacket they'd given him at Boulay. He leaned in close to Emma again. I'm going to have to take down your tights, he said unapologetically. Well, get on with it, Emma growled. Then the grumbling roll of the car door opening. The 4th boy returned with the conductor, who looked almost as young as the dancers. God damn, the conductor said. Any chance we're going to move soon, Apollo asked. God damn, the conductor. I feel you. Man, the conductor repeated. The mother reached over her son's stroller and pinched the conductor on the leg. I know that's right. Get your life together, man. Straighten up, cuz. Lost power to the 3rd rail, the conductor explained, coming back to himself as he rubbed his thigh. This train ain't moving. I'll go back to radio this in. They'll see EMTs, but even that's going to take a while. Oh. Apollo told him to make a call, but knew no one could arrive in time. The only help Emma would get was already in the train car. The conductor left, and when the door of the next car rolled shut again, the glass filled with faces. Spectators, folks who'd figured out that something big was happening in the next car. At the other end, people in the next car were gathering too. Now they had a viewing public. Even worse, Apollo could already see the light of cell phones held up to record the event. Jesus Christ. I don't think I'd want to record that. Cowboy, could you and your team keep all those people out this car? Block the windows? The kid looked to both ends. We can do that easy. There were a lot of folks at both doors, and many more behind them. You sure? Apollo asked. The one who'd run to the conductor laughed. Most of these people shrink as soon as we step on the train. I feel you. He said they start pretending like they don't exist. He clutched his hands to his chest and shivered. Those black boys are so intimidating. The others laughed. We'll keep them out, Cowboy said, smiling. And with that, they broke off, 2 boys to the side. No showtime for you, ladies and gentlemen, Cowboy shouted. No showtime for you, the other 3 called back. Apollo got down on his hands and knees and crawled around close to Emma's face. Her head was down, hair like a shroud and matted flat from perspiration. He brought the sippy cup of water close and lifted her head. Oh, that's my feet moving. I keep seeing something out the corner of my eye as my feet wiggling. He tilted the cup and let her have 2 sips. Apollo set the cup down. He didn't know how he could post up behind Emma to receive that baby, but also keep giving her sips of water. Keep up reassuring contact. He looked over Emma. The mother watched them. When they first boarded the train, she and Emma had seemed to share a powerful moment, locking eyes to communicate something Apollo knew he would never understand. He gazed at her, pleading. After a moment, the woman patted her daughter and rose from the seat. She pushed the stroller closer to the little girl, who peeked in from on her brother. The mother took the sippy cup and spoke quietly in Spanish to Emma. The woman's tone seemed soothing, and maybe that was all Emma needed. Emma even leaned forward and touched her forehead to the woman's shoulder. Intimacy so acute it appeared mystical. Now Apollo looked over his shoulder. The boys had their backs to the scene, their arms up and flailing to reject all attempts at a shot. He pulled off Emma's shoes. He slipped her tights down to her knees. He brought his hands to either side of her hips and pressed gently, something that soothed her in the third trimester. He spoke now not to his wife, but to their baby. We can't wait to meet you, he said. All right, family, we stopped there on chapter. Man, we got a long way to go with this book. We got time. We stop on chapter 16. Again, I appreciate your support and stuff as always. We'll probably, well, not we'll probably, we'll definitely get on live sometime this week. I've been playing that ghost hunting game, and I'm so excited because I finally found the right ghost. And I didn't get unalived by the ghost because the ghost be murking me every time. But so you can probably catch me sometime this weekend playing some games if you're on YouTube and or Twitch. But next Thursday we'll pick up with continuing the Changeling. Tuesday's show is going to be about the law of cause and effect. Right. And we are trying to have a guest. We might have a guest. We'll see how that go. A brother from the Strength, Wisdom, and Brotherhood group that I'm in wanted to join us to be able to talk about some few things, and he wanted to discuss he's coming in on when we were discussing the law of cause and effect, so he's all right with that. So Tuesday night, we continue the 12 universal laws. We'll be on the law of cause and effect. Thursday night, we continue reading Changeling. And for the remainder of this week, we are working on our solar plexus. And I want you to remember that you are confident, that you act with courage, that you are a powerful being, and you are motivated, you are persistent, and you are successful. And lastly, you honor yourself. Thank you, family, for your support, and I will see you later. Peace, 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 peace.